Hi crafty friends, it's Jarle here. I'm here with a fun interactive card for you today. It's actually two cards in one because I decorated both the front and the inside of the card. Now let's check out how this card came together. I started by die cutting the different pieces of the Fawn pop-up bee. I will integrate this into the inside of my card for a real wow effect. So I use black licorice, sticky note, pixie dust cardstock and some pearlescent vellum for the wings. Now I already did one side off camera, so I'm just repeating the process for the second piece of our cute little bee. I started by attaching the wing to the main frame of the bee, so that black one there. Fawn has a great intro video on how to assemble it, so I will link it in the description box below as well. So definitely check that one out. Now, when the wing is done, I sandwich it between the yellow body of the bee and the black frame that goes on top of that body. This actually makes it super sturdy, so don't be afraid that the wing is not attached properly. So now you have these two parts of the bee that we need to put together. So the one piece has a sloth on the top of the bee and then the other piece has a sloth on the bottom of the bee. So you just need to place them inside each other. There's no wrong way to do this, you can figure this out easily. You just put the two pieces inside of each other. It's really easy to do. And then this creates just the cutest 3D pop-up bee ever. In my imagination, this resembles the queen bee of the beehive. For my backgrounds, I decided to use the honeycomb stencil with different rainbow colors. So off camera, I already die cut a small stitched rectangle out of eggshell cardstock. I wanted to use this creamy color instead of plain white cardstock. For the rainbow colors, I took out my beloved Distress Oxides because you know I love to use those for my ink blending. But first I used temporary adhesive too, just to adhere my card onto my Wendy Vecchi Make Art station. Then I started with that first little honeycomb and I made sure to mask off the edges. Just to make sure that I didn't get any ink where I didn't want to. Also, don't forget to mask off the edge of your stencil as well, because, yeah, ask me how I know. I've had that happen many times, that I masked off other areas of the stencil, but I forgot the edge, so I was left with an ink smudge. Also, before going to a different color, I cleaned my stencil in between. Otherwise, there will be some contamination of colors. So I just wipe these with a damp paper towel just before going on to the next cute little honeycomb. You can see that I placed my honeycombs near each other, but not in straight lines next to each other. This gave it a more random look. I do want to mention all the different colors that I used for this background. So these are spun sugar, festive berries, dried marigold, scattered straw, cracked pistachio, tumbled glass and shaded lilac. After doing that outline honeycomb, I went in with the tiny hexagon in the middle. This is a different area in the same stencil, so you can actually choose if you want to just do that outline or you can fill it in completely. But actually I also like that look of just that outline honeycomb. I think this would work great also. So again, I went in with the same colors oxides as I did before. And here you can see the result of one ink blended panel. Isn't it gorgeous? I absolutely love it. Now I wanted to match that pop-up bee with the background a little bit more. So I die cut that bee once more out of eggshell cardstock. So that same eggshell cardstock that I used before. But I actually cut off the bee, so I was left with just that base piece. This was very easy to do. I just popped up that bee a bit and I trimmed it off with my scissors. Then I put some glue on that black base and I put the eggshell base on top. Here you see that I already placed my two ink blended backgrounds inside a white card base. I already put dry adhesive on one edge of that bee and I folded it in half. I placed it just in the middle of that fold there and I closed my card base. And now when you open it up, you will see that one edge of the bee is already in its place. And then I just repeated that same process. So put some dry adhesive on the other edge of the bee, folded the card shut, and the bee was just in the right place. Now here I noticed that I made a mistake apparently, so I glued the wing on wrong on that one side. But it was actually super easy to fix that. I just pulled the wing back out. Then I put on some liquid glue again on the wing and then attached it right back in between those two pieces of the body. And then I closed it with my tweezers to let it dry completely, just so that it's super secure again. And no one will ever realize that there was something wrong. Now onto the front of the card. I used that same stitched rectangle, so the small stitched rectangle again, out of eggshell cardstock, so it all fits together very nicely. And then I masked off the bottom portion of that panel with some heavy doodle masking tape. And I just repeated the process of ink blending the honeycombs in different rainbow colors. I won't show you in detail just because it's exactly the same as what you've seen before. The arrangement of honeycombs is just slightly different. For the inside of the card, I wanted to use the bees that are included in the Magic Iris Beehive add-on. I mean, these are just adorable. I fell in love with those the instant that I saw the Lawn Fawn intro video. To give them some added interest, I put a bit of marker detail on the edges before adhering every little piece together. I will list all my Copic markers in the description box below. I used black licorice, sticky note cardstock and pearlescent vellum for my bees. Here the little bees also need some blushy rosy cheeks. And you see here that I had to use a dark grey marker to color the antennas of the bees. So I attached everything with liquid glue, and then this is how all the bees and flowers turned out. They are just super adorable. These are all the images that I stamped and colored off camera. Again, I will list all my Copic markers in the description box below. The stamps that I used were all from the Hive stamp set from Lawn Fawn. After gluing down all my die-cut bees on the inside of my card, I wanted to add some dots too with my Copic markers. So I just took some random Copic markers in rainbow colors, just because I thought this would give it a more festive look in my opinion. Before adhering down my images on the front of the card, I placed down my sentiment. I wanted to make sure that there was enough room left for a bigger sentiment, so I decided to do this first. Now I white embossed a part of my sentiment on a black licorice cardstock, and then the big B word was die cut with the Henry's ABCs. I think this is my favorite alphabet set from Lawn Fawn. I really love the look of those letters. Now I could finally finish off my cards. The B part of the sentiment was glued down flat with liquid glue, and then the other parts were adhered with foam squares. The same goes for all the images on the front of my card, so some were adhered with liquid glue and others with foam squares. I love that this gives that card just some added dimension. Then here I was like, no, I don't like that white on white look, so I took a piece of yellow paper of the stripes and sprinkles paper pad and I trimmed it down to 4¼ by 5½ inches. Then I adhered this beautiful paper on my card base and my card panel on top of that. Oh yeah, and because that wasn't enough apparently, I decided to add some flowers to the inside of the card as well. I had already die cut those beautiful flowers and I didn't want them to go to waste, so I just chose to add them to the inside of my card as well. And now this card is all done. I am so happy with how it turned out and I hope you like it too. Thank you so much for being here and I will see you again soon with another cards project. Have a great day. Bye!